Welcome to another installment of Differently Wired, the YouTube series dedicated to smashing stigma against neurodivergent individuals and promoting acceptance of life on the autism spectrum, among other things. Welcome back, everyone. So, today's video is actually one that I really hadn't planned on doing right away, but life circumstances forced a change in plans, which is ironic because that's exactly the topic of today's video. As you can probably tell from the mess of boxes and other things behind me, I'm in the process of moving to a new apartment upstairs. It came up available, it's slightly bigger than my current one, and I just figured it was a good opportunity. But it also made me think of an area of life on the spectrum that I haven't covered yet, and while it wasn't what the topic I want to make this video about, honestly, now is as good a time as any, so I just figured, sure, why not? Let's give it a go, shall we? So, what topic is that exactly? Well, today we're going to be talking about how people on the spectrum do not like change. Now, that's a cliche as old as autism itself. Really, so are a lot of the things I talk about here, but I like putting a human face on it. Yay! Basically, I want to talk today about why people like myself who are on the spectrum do not exactly enjoy change. It's not that we can't do it, it's that it's a bit more of a challenge than normally expected for a lot of people. Individuals with any manifestation of autism spectrum disorder, what is now called autism spectrum disorder, so including those such as myself who originally were diagnosed with things like Asperger's disorder, PDD, NOS, classic autism in the 90s, you name it, basically all the things that are grouped under autism spectrum disorder now, we tend to dislike change or struggle with change. And we prefer routine and dislike deviation from it. That can vary, like some people don't have trouble with all kinds of change, just some kinds of change. Others just don't like any change, and can't blame them for it. But why is that? Well, I think to start, we have to talk about the opposite, which is why we like structure and routine and find it very comforting. I can only say this from my perspective because all I can do is speak from my perspective. However, I'm going to share a little bit about why I'm comfortable with change, and I think it applies to a lot of people. So basically, I mean, the world can be a really stressful place, whether you're neurotypical or neurodivergent. I mean, there's a barrage of sensory experiences of all five senses always coming at you every day. And in addition, oftentimes, there's a lot of rituals and challenges in life that we're expected to face without many supports or challenges or aids at all. We're, as a child, that can be things like trying a new food or starting at a new school. And in adulthood, it's things like bills, it's paying rent, going to work, the usual life stressors that get everyone up in a knot. So the thing is when you're on the spectrum and you find something that works for you, be it as simple as a routine in the morning, as far as getting up and getting ready goes, or a specific job or life calling or anything, any occupation or anything else you might think of that uses your strengths and minimizes your weaknesses, naturally you're going to gravitate to that. You're going to find that a comfort, and you're going to want to continue doing that. Far better in the minds of many an autistic individual to stick with something we know is safe than to take a chance on the unknown. I mean, yes, the unknown path could bring a lot of prosperity and a lot of success and just as much safety and stability. But we know we have this stability now. And these rituals and this path works for us now. So why would we change it? And I mean, it's silly to say that, of course, because I know. I mean, as Captain Kirk says in Star Trek Generations,
risk is part of the game. You want to sit in that chair.
The same is true of life, Risk is part of the game of life, and I know that. But at the same time, the part of me that is on the spectrum also just really finds routine and stability comforting. Basically, we on the spectrum settle and get comfortable very easily. And when something is settling and comforting, we embrace it. I mean, as an example of this, and it's actually why I'm doing it this time of all times, I've seen my new apartment upstairs. I know it's a comfortable unit. I'm looking forward to being in that unit on some level. And yet, despite all of that, I have a lot of anxiety around it too. I mean, it's intrusive thoughts central, left, right, and center. Everything from, oh God, the extra $25 a month, is that going to bankrupt me? To, oh God, am I making the right decision? But what about this, that, the other thing? And at the end of the day, what it all comes down to is, I am comfortable in this unit. Upstairs is unknown and unfamiliar. And unfamiliar and unknown can be disconcerting. I'm going to embrace it, but I always have this twinge. Every time a change happens in my life, this is not the first time. I feel weird saying that, because generally speaking, I'm Mr. Progressive. I'm Mr. Yes, change is essential for progress in society. Science, progress, understanding, all of that stuff. Yay, science! But when it comes to my personal life, I'm a little less adventurous than I am in my academic and intellectual life. I tend to roost easily because, again, it's stable and comfortable, and I embrace stability and comfort fairly easily. I mean, I'm the guy who follows the exact same work routine every morning and finds it disconcerting when something interrupts it. I mean, it's also why early stages of a relationship for me are kind of uncomfortable, because I'm adapting to doing these things and following this routine at someone else's house, not at my house. And I like my house, and I like waking up in my bed. And, I get irate and irritable if I don't get to follow the routine exactly as I like it. I wake up at 7:40 a.m., I roll out of bed, I brush my teeth, I shower, I walk to work, I keep breakfast at work so I can sleep in a little bit, because, yay, sleep. But that's essentially it. I like my routine. It's comfortable to me. It's the key to a happy, successful day for me, and if I don't have the chance to follow it, I get irate. And it's as simple as not getting a chance to eat breakfast because I was running late one morning, or not getting a chance to shower one day because, again, I was running late one morning. Or it's stuff like that, and I know it's not a big deal. I know that. But I hate it. I hate it with the burning fire of 1,000 stars going nova. Just like I hate moving with the fiery passion of 1,000 stars going nova. I don't like it. It disrupts the comfort and stability of my routine. And that makes me sound silly. But it's true. And you have to remember, a lot of people, when they think about people on the spectrum and change, they think of meltdowns or emotional outbursts, that kind of thing. That's certainly true of a lot of us when we're younger. We lack the coping mechanisms. But even back at that point, not everyone copes by having a meltdown. I mean, people do. And as you get older, the signs of being overwhelmed by change in routine become more subtle because we learn to cope and adapt with it. But they're still there. At the end of the day, my brain tends to prefer order and structure. And if I don't get the routine, I'm annoyed. I'm not devastated, per se, but I'm annoyed. I'm extremely annoyed. It had to happen that way, damn it. It's not just a routine thing either. I mean, it can happen just as readily when it comes to sudden changes in plans. Basically, when my brain gets it in its mind that something's going to happen at a certain time, it internalizes that. It makes it part of the operating system of the brain. It encodes it in. It plans the entire week around. It builds an entire image of, this is how the week is going to go. This is how the month is going to go. This is the plan. And it gets worked into that plan. And when a deviation happens, not fun. As an example, a couple months ago, I think 4 or 5 months now, I purchased a new vehicle because my venerable 2008 Honda Civic was getting a little long in the tooth, and Sheila, which is what I called her because I'm the type of person who attaches meaning to my inanimate objects, and I feel like that's an entire video in and of itself. But anyway, I digress. I was starting to notice my car getting a bit long in the tooth, and I thought, okay, it might be time to look into a new one. So I found one I loved, which is a 2014 Honda Civic. So you see, even with cars, my preference for stability and sameness is there because I trust Honda. I like Honda. I will continue buying Honda. But anyway, again, I digress. I took my car to the dealer. I signed the paperwork. I made the arrangement to have the purchase process started for the 2014 Honda Civic. And I was told to come back, I believe it was the Wednesday after, don't quote me on that, and that my car would be available at that time. So, okay, cool. Yeah, life went on. I had a touching weekend saying goodbye to my old car. I cleaned it out. I got everything ready to go. And Wednesday of the next week came, and with bated breath anticipation, I was looking forward to finally picking up my new car. But it wasn't going to happen that day. At around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, my sales rep from Honda gave me a call and said, Adam, I'm sorry, we're having a bit of trouble with the trunk latch, and it's not a big deal or anything, but we just want to make sure that everything's perfect for you, so would you mind coming in tomorrow instead of today to pick it up? This is where I want to say that intellectually, I understand that it wasn't a big deal. I totally get that. 100% I get that. But I was irate. I was upset. No, it had to be that day. I wanted it to be that day. The plan was that it was that day. Naturally, I have 20-odd years since my diagnosis of Asperger's in the 90s of adapting to coping with change, so I didn't make a big stink of it. I said, oh yeah, that's okay, no problem. But internally I was seething. And, you know, it's, again, it's silly. I know it's ridiculous. I understand that. But it doesn't mean that I don't struggle with it. You know, I mean, you can see how it might be a struggle, right? So, that being the case, what can neurotypical friends and family and allies do for the neurodivergent folks in your life who might be struggling with change? I mean, it's a natural human thing. We're all going to have these moments at times or others, so what can you do to help us out? 2 simple suggestions for you. Have patience and be compassionate. Patience because, again, as I've said a few times in this video, you have to understand that logically, the majority of us know that we're having a hard time with this. We know that these feelings are not rational. We understand this on an intellectual level, that it's ridiculous to be stressed out. I mean, I've worked in customer service long enough to know that it's absurd when a customer snaps because, well, I wanted something now. Thanks, Karen. But intellectually knowing something and feeling something emotionally are 2 very different things. And it's one of those things where, like, we understand on an intellectual level that it's ridiculous, but we're still feeling it. So be patient with us because we are trying, and it might just take us a little bit of time to overcome the hump, and then we're fine. Just be patient with us through that. And, I mean, you know, just be a friend. Console us. Maybe remind us a little bit that, like, you know, Adam, you're being a little bit ridiculous with this. Don't worry, it's okay. Don't say you're being ridiculous. Just say, you know, don't worry, it's fine. You know, tomorrow you'll get your car, or tomorrow you'll get your thing, or tomorrow the thing will happen. It's fine. Don't worry. And once we've had a chance to calm down, most of us will be like, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. That's fine. But I mean, failing that, another thing I have noticed that has helped me in my own life is when friends expose me to new things gradually. I have a friend, her name is Nancy. Nancy and I met around 2013, I want to say. It's been 6 years now. Anyway, Nancy has always been that bubbly, happy, you know, let's try new things, let's go on an adventure type people. And you can imagine, I was far more in my shell even back then in 2012, 2013. So you can imagine the impact this kind of a person might have had. I love Nancy to death. She's one of my best friends. But it was funny. It was fun at the time because she noticed this and took it upon herself to be, in her words, the friend who broadens the little box that I live in. Because she says that I live in a little box. Adam lives in a little Adam box. And every now and then, we add new wings onto the Adam box. And we add new attachments onto the Adam box. And I realized only relatively recently how many wings and add-ons she had actually added to the Adam box. Like, it's night and day. But it works because it's slow, right? It works at my pace if I'm comfortable with something. Like I said, we step a little bit over the line. And you take a breath, that's comfortable. You step a little bit and try another experience. And that's comfortable too. And that's great. And before you know it, you've taken like 20 steps. And you're well on your way to overcoming something. So gradually introducing someone to something while being respectful of their comfort zone, I would say is a good strategy. Most definitely. But again, it's funny because I find it hilarious to admit that I have a hard time with change. Because I am generally, again, the person who believes in the necessity of change from a social standpoint and from a personal standpoint. Change is necessary for growth and the advancement of our civilization, our society, our species, whatever. I mean, as Mr. Spock has said on Star Trek, change is the essential process of all existence. And I firmly believe that change is important. We have to change, we have to adapt, we have to grow, and we have to advance the causes of equality in our society and all that stuff. I mean, that's why I'm here doing this video, right? That's my whole purpose for being here. So, I understand that. And yet, on a personal note, in my personal life, I still have a hard time with the change with the little things and the deviations from the routine with the little things. I mean, my best friend often jokes about how I have rituals. And he's not wrong. He's not wrong at all. But yeah, that's basically that. I mean, so next time you encounter a neurodivergent friend or family member who tells you that changing something makes them uncomfortable, take a moment to listen to why they are saying that. Because I guarantee you, they're not just saying it to complain. They're saying it because they're actually having a hard time with something. And I would highly recommend that you talk to them and that you find out what it is that's bothering them and try to maybe make some accommodations to make their lives a little easier. I mean, we should all be accommodating each other if we're having trouble, right? Neurodivergent or neurotypical, it doesn't matter. So I just would love to see people be a little more understanding of where people are at, what people's limits are, and meeting them there and helping them. I think that's the best way forward with this, because most of us understand that our initial reaction to change being like discomfort is irrational, and if you give us a minute, or however long we need, we'll be okay. But you have to let us process the change on our own terms, because change can be a bit more jarring. It's the reality of the beast. Not that autism is a beast. I don't want negative connotations associated with autism on this channel. But it's the nature of our reality. And I think if we all just respect that about each other a little bit more, then the world will be a bit of a better place. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to get back to packing this. Live long and prosper, everyone. If you like this video and want to see more content by me at Differently Wired, remember to like, subscribe, and share this video on all social media. Also, you can find a link to my Patreon down below, and I'd really love if you continue to support me. You guys rock, like I said, and I really look forward to making more content for you guys. So until next time, keep it neurodivergent, folks.